Well, hey everybody, we are back with our question and answer series. I have a viewer from every state throughout the series asking me 3 questions. I don't really know yet that the state that they're from has changed the questions, but it has been fun. And today we're here with Danielle out in Arizona. And so welcome, Danielle. It's good to see
Thank you.
and meet you face to face, sort of. So
Yes.
what's your first question today?
My first question is, what would happen if a family were to be dissatisfied with the services? Like if something went wrong, just anything along those lines.
My first thought is, okay, we've got legal errors and then we've got just not happy errors. I mean, if it's a legal error and maybe somebody was dropped or, there was something along that lines, I think that approach is going to be far different than anything else, because I would want some things in writing and I would follow some very strict protocols and probably call a lawyer and find out, that avenue. If somebody was just upset, I would sit down and find out where, what the actual problem was. I think just in any business in general, what people want to do first off is start throwing money at problems. And that's not my answer to things, because sometimes people just want to be heard when they're maybe upset. And maybe they want you to know so that another family doesn't have the same situation. They may have different reasoning that they are complaining, so to speak, rather than just, we want money. But I think a lot of people get uncomfortable. And so they just start throwing money at situations. So my first would be to understand where the dissatisfaction was from and asking the question, what can I do at this point to make this better for you? And sometimes they just want to tell you that they're upset, or finding out if the upset is stemming from something that actually happened or if it's just, unfortunately, grief placement, because we often get that where somebody's just got all this emotion and it needs to come out and it comes out at us. We've had this at one funeral home recently, a few weeks ago. There was a mom of a guy that had died, and there's she just was not happy. She was not happy. She really didn't click with the funeral director. She just was not happy. And it wasn't that we had done anything or anybody had done anything wrong. She just was, nothing was going to make that situation decent for her. And in the end, she just wanted to complain and be angry. And so I think it's getting to the root cause. If they're upset because mom didn't look right, I think it's also educating in the forefront that make sure you voice that during the process rather than afterwards, and people knowing they can. So is there a situation you're stemming that question from at all?
Well, I think you saw my comment. I think it was a few months ago now, but my great aunt just passed away recently, and I have been fortunate. I haven't had a death in my family in about 15 years. So I was kind of getting myself ready to go to her funeral. We traveled back to New Mexico, and when we went to her viewing, there was a little half column right next to her casket with a flower display, and there was a tube of super glue with the lid off.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then there was a bottle of foundation under her casket on the floor, but that I could wrap my head around, human hair, whatever. But then on the left-hand side, there were 2 double doors, and one of them was cracked open, I would say about a good 2 feet. There were people just in their caskets in there, and I'm just like, and where I'm from is there's not very many funeral homes, and the ones there are, they aren't the nicest funeral homes. I'll just say that. So it didn't really shock me, but I'm just like, really? I'm looking at my aunt, but I'm also looking at these other people, that are in her casket, but then I thought to myself, what would make this better? Nothing's going to make it better.
Right.
So I was just curious if,
Yeah. No, that's definite attention to detail. Somebody was, and they might have had to touch her up last minute or they got a phone call and they never went back in there. That can, that, like you said, that can happen. Anybody, human error, get distracted and something happens, or the bottle drops and you don't see it on the floor. But the door being ajar, not only is that like an OSHA violation of sorts, that it should have been locked with a large sign on it that said, authorized personnel only, and nobody, because if you were in that chapel, you could have easily opened that door thinking you were exiting and walking into that room. So that is a huge problem to me right there, thinking about that and what somebody could walk into, where you've got naked 95-year-old Betty that has her leg up in the air and privates all, and somebody walks in, and because when you're dressing people, you lift a leg to put pants on, and there's things that are exposed, and I just can envision like that moment somebody opens the door and there's Betty all for the glory, and somebody's got nightmares for forever now that they've seen Betty all splayed out. But that's bad.
It was bad because the chapel was pretty small, about the size of my living room, and the pew that a lot of my family they were right next to that door. So I just kept looking at them like, are you guys looking in there? Because I mean, if it were me, I would probably be looking in there, curious minds. But I just was like, this is so wrong in every way. But I got over it. I was just curious, I don't even think saying anything to like a staff member would have helped. It is what it is. It happened.
Well, and who knows, maybe the door doesn't latch well, and maybe a gust of, sometimes when you open one door, it pulls the door closed and open just because of that suction, and maybe that happened and opened and they didn't realize, but still it should be locked. Like it should be locked from the other side or something.
The other weird thing was the door on the opposite side of those doors led to the outside of the funeral home. And when we pulled up on the side street, we saw that door was propped open, and I was like, oh, okay, well, as we got out of the car, I'm realizing my family members are in there. So people were walking their dogs, and there's my aunt in her casket, and I'm like, we just have this door propped open. I don't know if that was my uncle, it was his mom that died, if that was his, we'll just leave this door open so family can just come straight in from the street. Maybe it was him. I don't know. Either way, it's weird.
It is one of those odd things. Like you don't know, maybe it was logical to somebody, and when you're that observer, have no idea what any of that reasoning is behind it, and you're like, this is maybe not appropriate. So, and I have to tell you, the whole time you're talking, I'm like, you remind me of somebody, and it's not Laura, Jenna Hager Bush, or Bush Hager, whatever.
Oh yeah, I've heard that a few times.
From Jenna, it's something about your voice is
really
on her. Like it's so. I'm like, who does she remind me of? And I don't ever watch the morning show except if I maybe go get my nails done and it happens to be on. But side note. So who knows?
Well, I did live in Texas for 4 years, so maybe I have been told I've picked up a little bit of a Texas accent. So it's
interesting. All right, what's your number 2 question?
Okay, my number 2 is, what do you think about during a funeral service? Like if you're not the one doing the talking or whatever, are you thinking about what you're making for dinner that night, or are you actually thinking about the person?
Like if I'm in the back, like if I'm running the funeral? Logistics, it's always thinking about, I think, the next step, as people are coming in, just making sure people are where they need to be, and is everybody here, checking in with the family. Is the family all here? Is the music playing? Do we have things lined up? Is my part-time staff where they're supposed to be? Just kind of watching everything. But sometimes while you're getting ready for a funeral, your thoughts are also with whatever's maybe coming later in the day. If you know, if I know I'm meeting with a family of a specific type of a, scenario later in the day, my head might be wrapped up in that and maybe thinking towards it if it's like a young person or somebody I knew or something. But usually it's just thinking 2 steps ahead of what's going on with that funeral. When the funeral's actually going on, making sure things are where they need to be for after, make sure everybody knows, like, okay, you're going to go up with me and you're going to dismiss. You're going to do this. Do you have a jewelry bag? I have a jewelry bag. Do you know what songs are playing? So, if I'm playing the music during it, then I'm listening to the service. Otherwise, I'm usually not listening to the service too closely. Sometimes I might just be on my phone doing email. Like, I'm not going to lie. It just depends on where we're at, how long the service is, kind of what's going on, and how tuned into the actual parts of the service I need to be. So in some services I really want to listen to because I either really like the pastor or I'm really kind of wrapped up in the family. Mm-hmm. So there's two different kind of scenarios there that just depending.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your number 3 question?
Okay, my number 3 is, are there times when you're ever burnt out or want to quit the funeral industry?
Oh, that's a good, it's funny. I don't know that anybody's even asked me that one yet. I think there's days that there's moments where definitely I think, why am I doing maybe this? And it's probably not ones that anybody would ever think. I would guess that the common person would think, oh, I bet that she would want to not do it because she had to work with a baby family or because she had to, like, a heavy call. More than likely when I've had those thoughts, it's because there's issues within the staff at a funeral home. Mm-hmm. And it's like, truly, that's the part that would make me want to leave one funeral home or a scenario, or just not want to work in general because of the political stuff within a business. Because that's the worst part of any work, I think, environment. Right. It's not always the clients and things, because they come and go, but when you have like drama within the workplace, that burns me out more than anything else. Because that takes a lot of energy when maybe you don't get along with someone you're working with and you have to be around them every day, and you have to be around them every day in an environment that's emotionally heavy anyway.
Right.
And, especially right now during COVID and having to wear masks, meeting with families, and tell people no all day long when you want to be telling them yes. And it heightens, I think, everything around you. And so some of that is like, why am I even here? Why do I want to stay working at this place? Or why do I want to stay working at that place if I don't get along, or I'm not looking forward to coming in today? But then it passes, and then I'm, then it's fine, and move on. It's when you feel that way, I feel like for weeks, then it's like, all right, we need to move on. But I'm one that stays somewhere way too long anyway. Bad relationships, bad situations, I just try and stick it out. And
that's me too.
The boyfriend I dated too long for forever long ago, and should have ended it. But I'm always just optimistically hopeful that I'll be perfect, and if it doesn't. But I think when I started the YouTube channel and I started all that, I was actually in the kind of a rut and getting a little burned out. And I don't think I recognized it as that, but I think I needed a new flame for how I felt about the business. And that it has truly done it for me by helping me see the business in a new light from the consumer side and from the student side, and seeing what people want to know, and helping me educate and dive in more into areas that I didn't know about, that I get really excited to talk about and learn about and pass on that information. So I think that to me was a point that I was maybe a little burned out with the redundancy of what I had been doing. Because I'm in middle America, and everything is pretty streamlined, and we don't have a lot of variety here like you would in other parts of the country and other countries. So getting to dive into some of that through just online has been really exciting, and talking to people that have different experiences and stuff. I never would have gone to England and worked at a funeral home there if not for this platform.
Right.
I'm still blown away by the fact that I have gotten to do some of the stuff I've gotten to do. And I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what I could do with this platform. It's just crazy.
I was actually going to bring up your trip there because I just think that is amazing. I think I'm obsessed with England anyways. I hope to go there someday.
Yeah.
So just seeing how they do things there was just like, wow, that's like so extra, as Americans would say, but it's
Yes,
beautiful, you know. It's like a wedding, but for a funeral, essentially.
Oh, it was so, I still, like, I have goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, just something about it was this classy level of sophistication, but they think we are that way. It was so funny talking to them. I'm like, I feel like everything you say is so much more intellectual than me. And they're like, well, we feel like the same way. We feel like, you know, we're kind of sloppy in the way we talk, and you talk so sophisticated.
That's funny.
Like,
no, I feel very redneck, you know, whenever I think about myself versus, you know, a British person or something. So
yeah, and it's so funny how it's in the eye of the beholder type of thing. And but it was a phenomenal. I would love to do that in a lot of different countries and really dive in. But just like here, if somebody came to Michigan and experienced a funeral, it's going to be far different than if they went to California or if they went to New York. And so I feel like it's just a small little flavor that some people are still like, well, that's not how we do it in England. Well, it is, just not in maybe your part, because you're all the way to the south in London, where you've got the whole northern and all these different areas. But yeah, there's so many countries I would like to go to, and things so to go see and do, and dream. So one day maybe get on the adventure train a little more. But yeah, it's so cool. Do you have any bonus questions you want to throw?
Well, you know, it's funny because my whole family, I wanted to be an embalmer originally, and I tell people that, and they're like, you look like you look so Barbie-ish. And I said, well, you don't know me. If you really knew me and how weird I was, it wouldn't really surprise you. But so my whole family, we have this like made up funeral home, you know, which family member would be what position. And it's so true. But my grandma, I was like, do you want me to ask her any questions? And she just asked the question you loathe, which is, how long until a body decomposes once they're buried? And I was like, she's been asked that probably thousands of times at this point.
Grandma, there's no answer. No answer, Grandma. Sorry.
So I answered her for you.
I love it.
Yeah. Bonus questions. I feel like you've answered every question I probably could have ever had. I think I've watched you since you've had about 200 subscribers on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so long ago. So it's amazing. I just want to say it's amazing how much your channel has grown. I think it's awesome because people are so freaked out by dead bodies and funerals, and even me, you know, I was like a little intimidated to go to my aunt's viewing. I was like, okay, I haven't done this in a while. And I don't really have any questions, but
well, thank you.
I'm just so happy for you, and
thank you. It still like blows me away, and I will say it a million times that how surreal it is that there are people that watch and follow and find me at all entertaining, you know, at all. It just blows my mind that anybody watches my face that long. You know, someone will be like, I just binge watched you. And I'm like, how can I watch this for that?
I do it too. My husband, I told him to stay upstairs, but I'm in bed, you know, he's brushing his teeth. I'm already in bed, and I have one of your videos on, and he'll be in the bathroom, and I'll be like, seriously, Danielle, you're watching her right before you go to bed. And then the other night, actually, in the morning, I said I had the weirdest dream that I was hired at Walmart, and I was in training to work in their cremation center. Walmart had a cremation center in and he goes, that's because you've been watching Kari's videos right before you go to sleep. I said, that's probably why.
Getting in your brain.
Yeah. So if that tells you anything.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh. Well, Danielle's hubby, sorry.
It's okay. So it keeps me entertained. So
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, thank you for asking the questions and joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
When I come out to Phoenix, I will make sure to let you know so we can do a meet and greet or something. And
I think there's another embalmer down here on YouTube.
Yeah,
Monica, right? Okay, I thought she's way south of me, but I thought she was around me somewhere. So
she is. Yep, she's out there, and there's a school there and stuff. So I've planned to want to come there. This next year was coming out there, hopefully. So
don't come in the summer.
I know. I'll die of heat stroke.
You will die because you're from like, in my eyes, perfect weather summer, so yeah. Maybe January through April is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll plan the trip and come out. So
awesome.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and check us out next Sunday again and see what state we're coming at you from next week. Bye guys.